Thanks, Christine. I'm Guada from Armidale Regional Council. Really great to be here in Coffs where it's warm, muggy, and my hair's a bit frizzy, but I really love it. I really love warm weather. My topic today is focus on foundations for regional waste management. Before I start, I just want to say a shout out to my team back in Armidale online and Darren and Josh, who are with me from council in the crowd. The conference theme this year has been local action, global impact, and I really love what Kate said. She said, big change doesn't start in the capital, it starts in the corner. And you know, we all said it yesterday with Costa, the revolution will be local. So this is why I think it's important to focus on our own backyards. So this is our backyard, not mine personally, but this is Armidale. It's a beautiful time of year. It's autumn. There's four distinct seasons, much cooler climate. Some of you may know my journey. I've moved from Sydney to Armidale for a tree change. And you know, it's last year I shamelessly plugged Armidale. But yes, there's only 2 traffic lights in the CBD, and you're 5 minutes to everything. But each region is unique, and I want to share some of this so that we can look at some of the ways we can capitalise on the uniqueness of our region. Armidale is just up the hill from Coffs. It's part of the Northern Inland Regional Waste Group, halfway between Brisbane and Sydney. So today I want to talk about challenges that many regional councils will relate to, and also how councils could leverage their unique strengths. So at Armidale Council, we're not a big regional council. Tamworth down the road is about double in population. We're not so small as well. I know the Central Desert Regional Council, for those of you who attended that presentation, they have 282,000 kilometres of land for only 4,200 people. So we're not too big, we're not so small. That has its own challenges as well. We have, like most regional councils, low population density, low, in our area, low socio-economic status. We have 20% of the population in aid work or volunteer work. We've got a young population. The median age is 34, so I'm on the older side of the population. Only about 9,800 dwellings. So across regional councils, there's a huge diversity of, these challenges in different extremes. So in my opinion, some of these common challenges is we all have a low income base and ability to pay for services, large service areas, large road network to manage large distances to sites and services, high community expectations. Council is the go-to for everything, and councils feel the service gaps. In Armidale, when the local cinema was changing ownership, the community wanted council to step in and save the cinema, for example. So a common saying we say in our council is, this place is held together by sticky tape. So that's how we feel at times. And so looking at the problem across regional councils, this is some data that's publicly available from your council, the Your Council website. But as you can see, the larger spend is in roads, bridges and footpaths. And for those rural councils, all of those numbers in red, other services, and then governance and administration. So Armidale is classed as a regional council. On average, our highest spend is community services, education and environment, including waste, and that's the spend per resident. Again, these are average figures, so each council is different. So actually, in council, we have a pretty low spend, 6% on governance and administration compared to 16%. Also, for environment, we're only spending 10%. That's pretty close to the average. Other services, we spend a huge 34%, and some of that may be, we have an airport in our council, and some councils have those additional expenses. So, how far does this 6% take us in terms of, waste services and environment? So, in council, we have this is our 3-stream service. We actually have 4 streams, and we have drop-off services as well as curbside services, which we provide to 92% of the population. But we have targets. We all have targets. We've got FOGO mandates, circular economy, education campaigns, and it's a little bit overwhelming to think, how are we going to do this? Meanwhile, our residents are asking, we don't get anything for our rates. What do we get for our rates? So I've spent a bit of time looking at the problem, as Einstein suggests, spend most of your time looking at the problem. And what I wanted to share today is in my journey, the last 2 years that I've been with council, some of my reflections on how, I felt being able to sort of reduce that overwhelm and look at it in terms of manageable chunks. So if our house is held together by sticky tape, then let's focus on some foundations. So I'll go through these things today. And another thing that's relevant, in our council, we're going through a Restore and Thrive journey. We're a few years out of administration with the new GM. There's a lot of challenges, and every council has its challenges. So you may relate to some of these, but I see circular economy as as an industry. We know we're not there yet. So it's definitely a Thrive part. So we've got to focus on Restore. So I'll talk about regulatory functions for providing essential waste services, legislative compliance, basics for waste avoidance and resource recovery, and business. So firstly, have we got bins being picked up on a regular basis? Hopefully. If not, that's where you start. So if you've got that, when I first started, we had our contracts expiring for collection. We had no further extensions. That was my priority, to get contracts in place. And in a short time frame, it wasn't perfect, but we were aiming for progress. So that's a win. And we provide weekly crate recycling, and we've had FOGO in place for a number of years now, 12 years, and we have a red bin service. So we've been carried by some of the positive things that have happened in the past, but it's now time to take it forward. We also provide, as many of regional councils do, a lot of waste infrastructure. We have 2 licensed landfills, a number of rural waste transfer stations, 2 CRCs, on-site FOGO processing, which we do in-house. We have an on-site MRF, which is operator run, and we do mulch and concrete resource recovery. We have a second-hand shop, and we have a drop-off service for bulky waste. And coming from Sydney, when I first arrived, I thought, wow, look at all that infrastructure. This is the envy of Sydney councils, to have infrastructure in our own backyard. Yet we don't quite have the funds to maintain our assets and to maximise them. This is an indication of what our residents pay in terms of rates. Just to give you some comparison based on where you might be. But I think regardless of the budget that you have in your council, we have a regulatory function to provide essential waste services to the community. This is an issue for public health and environmental health, and this is really basics of waste management. For New South Wales councils, we have full cost recovery in the Local Government Act. So the service, we must spend the waste budget on the purpose that it's collected for. So if you've got, you're having issues with basic waste services, then where is the income? Do we need to increase rates and charges to cover the services? Because you can, and maybe you do need to. Another aspect is legislative compliance. When you're running all these facilities, you've got environmental protection licenses, conditions of approval, and a lot of, there's a lot of things that you're responsible for. So one of our landfills is, I think, fairly new landfill, and so it's a state significant development. The other landfill, we accept asbestos, and there's, we know that there's a whole heap of regulation under all of these activities, including supplying compost and mulch. So are you doing those correctly? If not, then, do you need to supply mulch, or do you need to put things in place so that you're doing it under the appropriate regulations? So there's, I think, two motivators for changing things. It's either you're moving towards a goal. As an industry, we're trying to move towards resource recovery, but another motivator is to move away from the current state. And if you have risk of penalties for non-compliance, and with the increased penalties, you're looking at $4 million for negligence. And if the EPA has said time and time again, this landfill needs to be remediated, or that you're falling short in some aspects of environmental monitoring, then that's not a risk that you want to have on your head. So again, as I said, if you need to recover costs for doing things, these are basic things that we're responsible for. The next point is waste and resource recovery basics. So I'll talk about some of these things as examples, and remembering, the waste hierarchy. We've got the principles of the waste hierarchy there that can support some of our activities. Polluter pays is a principle of ecologically sustainable waste management. So in our council, we have a user pays waste disposal system for bulky waste and no curbside collection, although that's a constant request from the community. Why don't we do this? Everyone else has this. Not everyone else has this, and my response is, in Sydney, waste is transported on the train to Woodlawn, and the councils don't own facilities. We have these facilities. We've already invested in the infrastructure, so let's leverage those. Waste audits, these are expensive to do, but you don't have to do it. If you can do the traditional composition audit, or you can get a grant under the FOGO grants to do it, great. We are working with some councils in our area to have physical audits and leveraging that economy of scale. Reuse shops are common in regional areas. We recently took one of ours in-house, and we're open half a day on Saturday and half a day on Sunday, and each weekend it brings in $1,000 to $3,000 a year, enough to fund the staffing for that. That's only 2 half days, and the resource recovery benefit, and that's with everything being sold for $1 or $2. These are things that are not so easy for the larger metro councils to do. And I'll talk also about some of these other things as I go on. But basically, let's walk before we run. Here's a colouring in page of our process, and this follows council's process. And it's not a model for circular economy, but this is what we do, and we have pretty good supply chain visibility because we have local suppliers, and our recycling contamination rates are quite low, so they're sold to domestic buyers. So I like what Suzanne from ACOR said the other day. She said recycling is the link to circular economy. So whilst we might not have the answers or be ready to take on the challenges of circular economy in regional areas, recycling is the link, and I think source separation is the key to recycling. So I was surprised when I first arrived that we had a crate system in place, and I thought, okay, well let's just see how this works. But it really works, and in terms of our contamination rates, our KPIs for our contractor are 3%, and often we're getting below that. So this is real recycling. We've, as a result, because it's a crate collection, our MRF size doesn't have to be as big. There's some manual sorting, but that's local jobs. And to quote Terry from Busy as well, she said the future of recycling is circular, local and transparent. The regional waste group, so I've got NIW in the room, and they are such a good network, and coming into the region, one of the first things I was keen to do was connect with the regional waste group, and I think everyone who's been involved with one would understand the value of that. So regional procurement, joint procurement, so especially when you have a site-based audit, when a contractor has to travel to the area, if they can group it with your neighbouring councils, there's definitely significant savings there. Education campaigns, that consistency of messaging, that saturation, we have CRCs which are standardised by the EPA, and asbestos is the same messaging for everyone. They're constantly seeking funding opportunities as well, and the other thing is the advocacy and submissions. So the last item is business, and this could be business strategy, analysis, everything, and you don't need to necessarily have business expertise. There are some simple things that you can do. A SWOT analysis, which we have done, looking at your risk, elevating those risks and making sure that they're accepted at the right level in your organisation. Asset management involves, reviewing service levels. Do we need to have our facility open to the public 363 days a year when we're low on resourcing? So these business cases have led to us for some, efficiencies, moving things in-house, as I said, and some changes and improvement. Here are some live examples of overcoming these challenges, and I want to share from also the region. Remote site management, not staffing these sites, and it can be as cheap as fencing, a Bluetooth padlock, and a surveillance camera. So Adrian is in the crowd, so if you want more information, reach out to him. We've got some strengths. We do in-house processing. How can we leverage that? And with the FOGO mandates, that's an opportunity worth exploring. And for other councils considering doing this themselves, please get in touch, because it might be worthwhile. We definitely have weaknesses. Data is an issue for everyone. Is it worth investing in? In our case, we had purchased a weighbridge but not installed it, so now we're putting it in to get that data. And another one, I was glad to hear Ash's presentation. There are unknowns. So in our region, we have the renewable energy zone. There's so much waste, there's not enough landfill, we don't know what to do, but let's keep sharing our problems and connecting with people who can help us solve this problem. So we can overcome a lot of our regional challenges, large service areas and some of those things. Focus on what you can control and keep learning and from one another and conferences like this. Lastly, I want to just say, celebrate your wins. As I mentioned, we've had our own FOGO processing in place for over 12 years, and last year put in an award for that and got a commendation in the local government, the Keep Australia Beautiful Awards. So in the circular economy category. So now we are actually talking circular economy. We're doing aspects of it without realizing it. Thank you very much. Happy to be contacted if you have any questions. And just another, this is a point of embracing our uniqueness in Armidale. It's a cold area, and when one department is doing something well, like the Big Chill Festival, we all gather around and celebrate it. So that's leveraging your uniqueness, but also an invitation to come up to Armidale if you don't have plans this weekend. Thank you.